Welcome to the Multifamily Zone, where business meets family. We explore what the entrepreneur life looks like from the family perspective. Now here are your hosts, Julia and Gino Barbaro.
Hey everyone, this is Julia Barbaro, host of the Multifamily Zone podcast. I am here with the co-founder of Jake and Gino, my husband and co-host Gino Barbaro.
Hi, Julia. How you doing?
Hey, Gino. I'm doing good.
What are we talking about today?
Well, it's funny because when we were talking about what was going to be the topic, somehow it was going on where a lot of judging was going around, especially online, in the media, judging. And that's what I kind of want to talk about.
What about if I don't want to talk about that? I guess we're stuck.
Actually, hold on, time out. We're talking about the judging, and then you came and said, hey, let's talk about judging.
So the reason why judging to me is really important, it's because I've been doing a lot of work on mindset. I've been doing a lot of work on neuroscience of the brain. I'm trying to figure out why people do certain things. And then, through this whole pandemic, I've been online. And every time I'm online, it's so toxic. Everyone's judging everyone else. We don't even know what a person's situation is. And from a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, when you're being judgmental, a fixed mindset tends to be judgmental. It's not open. It's not empathetic. You're not thinking about the other side. And I'll give you a quick example of how judgment can really work against you. I read this, I think, in Stephen Covey's book. There's a story about a man. He was on a train. He had a bunch of kids with him. I think actually he had 6 kids with him on the train. So he'd be talking about me. And he's on the train. His kids were acting up and he was a little down, dejected. The person sitting next to him, who was the author, was a little annoyed. And he's like, why don't you get, saying to himself, why don't you corral your children? Why don't you, get them to behave better? And he eventually ends up asking the father, saying, why don't you take care of your kids? And the father speaks up and says, oh, I'm really sorry. I'm just a little bit out of it right now. My wife is sick in the hospital and she just passed away. And my kids don't know how to react any other way. And I just don't know what to do right now. And all of a sudden, that man judging the other man for having the kids acting unruly, everything changes, right? Your perception, your frame, your reference just completely changes. So judging someone who's a father who's not taking care of his kids and now knowing what the real situation is completely shifts everything. So when you judge somebody, just be careful how you judge a person or what you're judging, because you might not know all of the facts.
That's a really sad story.
Well, yeah. It's sad, but it's the truth. It's true. Think about it. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to give you another one. This one's important to me, Julia, because this is what's been going on right now. What we're talking about, getting back to work, not getting back to work. You're going to get people sick. You're not going to get people sick. I'm going to take you back to my story. Now, I've been blessed. I sold the restaurant literally a month and a half before this whole pandemic started. 1994, I get out of college in 92. I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I want to go in the restaurant business with my dad. So in 1994, we buy Gino's Trattoria. It's part of my life. I meet my wife there. Best thing ever from the restaurant, right? She was really beautiful. She still is. She was an enigma to me. She still is. It was awesome. I loved the place. It was my identity for 20 years. All of my kids went through the restaurant. It was just everything. Every day, my dad, I worked with him every day. I worked with my mom every day. I worked with my brother every day. That was another nightmare. But still, I had a partner, and I relied on him. I trusted him. Our kids grew up through there. All of my kids, the majority of them, worked there, except for my last one. It was a great connection. It provided for me. It provided for all the people in the restaurant. It provided for all the employees. It provided for everyone taking out food. I had so many caterings, so many weddings, so many bar mitzvahs, so many confirmations. We were really known in Mayapack, and I was so proud to be there and to do that. Now, like I said, all throughout the 25 years, losing my father, having the rough time in 2008, bouncing back, using the restaurant to save money and to be able to go into multifamily. It was part of my life, a really big part of my life. My family was so involved in it, so intimate in it. And then let's say I'm still in that situation and this pandemic comes, I lose everything. My life is completely turned upside down. And I'm being sympathetic to all the small business owners out there because I would have been in that same exact situation. And now everyone out there who's yelling at people saying, you got to stay home, you got to do this, you got to do that. I understand that. I'm looking at both sides of the story. I'm being sympathetic to the business owner because I know what the business owner has been going through. You talk about blood, sweat, and tears. I worked over 20 Christmas Eves. I sacrificed my family and I sacrificed my family time to do that. And then somebody comes and tells me that I want to make people sick. No, I'm just trying to keep my family afloat. I'm trying to pay the bills. That's what I'm trying to do. I built something for 20 years, and then this something that comes over, and then you're going to get mad at me for wanting to open. So I know all those small business owners out there that aren't getting money from the government, that are hanging on by the thread of a whatever cloth, whatever the hell you want to call it. And you're out there, you're judging them. You should be in their shoes. They're not getting paid. Government workers are getting paid. Everyone else is getting paid that can say, have the luxury, we're not going to open up. Those people that aren't opening up, those people that are losing everything right now and that are frustrated, have a little sympathy for them. Don't judge them. Unless you've walked in somebody else's shoes like that, you know how hard it is to wake up. 25 years I was making payroll. I've been doing payroll for the last 25 years. All of a sudden, something like this happens. I want to get back to work because I need to pay my family. I don't have the proper insurance. Even if you have savings, in 4 to 6 weeks, you can't even pay the rent anymore because you've got so many bills to pay and it's stacked up. So this is all about judgment and judging others. And I'm getting really emotional because it's really touching me. And I don't even own the restaurant anymore, but I can just only imagine what a lot of people out there are going through. So have a little sympathy for them. Have a little empathy for them. Don't just judge somebody on Facebook. And everybody get off Facebook because no one knows what is going on right now. We don't have the facts. You're judging people for not knowing what their story is. And on the flip side, the other side, somebody may have lost a loved one to COVID. So maybe I might not be showing sympathy or empathy for that person. So before you start throwing out and accusations, allegations, find out what's going on the other side, because there's two sides to every story. I'm just saying out there from my perspective as a small business owner, and I'm going through this right now with Jake and Gino and with the properties. We have 1,600 tenants that we have to take care of. I don't want them to get sick. We need to protect them. But I've got over 60 employees with the Rand fam that I have to take care of. So I want business to open up for them also. Because I'll be okay ultimately. I'll find the way to make it through. But I want to be able to protect our employees and, more importantly, our residents who are our lifeblood, and our Jake and Gino community members who are part of the Jake and Gino family, who I want to add value to. So my whole point is, before you start judging everybody, just have the growth mindset and try to look at it from the other person's perspective. Try to see where they're coming from. Because if you're taking away somebody's autonomy, as Chris Voss says, you're taking away their identity. That's a dangerous thing. And people do stupid things when you take away somebody's autonomy and somebody's identity and somebody's ability to live and to make their own decisions.
Yeah. Making decisions. And that's one of the things why it's so easy to judge another person, because most of the time we're not making the decision. And so it's easy to judge because we're not held responsible for that. So even, whether it's running the country, we could name off everything that's going wrong because we're not making those major decisions, and we could see in the flaw in everything, or whether it's even deciding what's for dinner, the simplest of littlest things of the day where, if I decide, people aren't happy, but if I put it on other people, it's like, oh, I don't know what to have tonight. It's interesting how you do that, how we could judge the other person's decision-making because we don't have that responsibility. And so that's interesting. So that's like Gino said, when other people are deciding something, take a step back and say, I wonder what they're going through. I wonder what's going through their mind. I actually don't understand. We use that phrase a lot, don't we? I don't understand. Why did you do it like that? And we don't really think about it. Sometimes we should ask ourselves, explain to me, help me understand. Why did you do that? Or how did you do that? Or all those things, instead of judging. Find out the real behind the reason.
This is a big shout out to a friend down here in St. Augustine, Mr. Leo B. Big shout out. You made me realize something. We've been talking about business a lot. And when we sit down, he'll analyze my business and I'll analyze his business. It's so much easier to analyze somebody else's life and their business because it's not you. There's no emotions involved. You're taking the emotion out. And also you're having the growth mindset. When you're analyzing yourself, sometimes you have that fixed mindset where, you know what? Oh, nothing wrong with me. I'll give you the perfect example of a person in, Carol Dweck's book, Mindset, that had the fixed mindset. It was John McEnroe. Now, what does a fixed mindset allow you to do? McEnroe never took responsibility for his mistakes. Whenever he hit a ball out, it was either noise in the crowd, the racket stunk, the ref stunk, the person made a noise. He never made the mistake. The fixed mindset doesn't allow you to grow. Could you imagine how amazing he would have been if he had the growth mindset where it's all about learning and it's all about growing and it's all about contributing? Whereas the fixed mindset is, you know what? It's all about the ego, all about me. If, you know what? I can't figure it out from at an early young age. I'm a prodigy. I can't make any mistakes. But when I get into the real world, all of a sudden, wow, that real world is tough. And you know what? I'm going to give up. It's not worth it. Assess yourself. I challenge you. Are you that kind of person? Or are you the kind of person that says, wow, that's pretty cool. I'm not really good at it. Like me, when I got into multifamily, I stunk. I made so many mistakes, but I had the growth mindset. I had enough clarity. I had enough why to figure out how to get there. So my growth mindset was continue to work hard. I want you all to teach your children not and to tell them how smart they are, but to tell them how to work hard. Hard work equals success, equals the growth mindset.
Yeah, you had mentioned something about that. So, you know, this is a huge challenge I'm putting on everyone. My husband, it was many, many years ago, and I don't even think you were coaching yet, but you had read a book, and he reads a lot of books, as I've said before. There was one book, and it gave him a challenge of pay attention to your thoughts for 1 week and try not to have any negative thoughts.
Oh.
It was, I remember when it came to me, I'm like, oh, okay, have fun, you know, have fun with that. Because I knew him so well. And I knew, sorry. You know, the littlest of things would drive him crazy. And I'm like, this is going to be a huge challenge for him. But I have to tell you that he did it. And it was so surprising because it really opens your eyes to your first reaction to what's going on around you, because it's before you even say something. It's happening before you actually say the words. You know, you could control what you're saying a lot of the times when we think first before we say them, but to figure out that, wow, I really am a negative person. Everything that happens, my immediate response is negative. And that is something that we need to fix first before watch what you say. It's the thoughts that are in your mind. What's the first response to when something happens? The first thought in your mind. And it's really hard for some of you, I know. You know, my husband and I are very different, you know, in many ways, but this is one of them where I'm okay with it. I'm a little bit more calm than he is, as you can tell, but it's that first thought that you have, that you are thinking. Pay attention to it and decide not to do it, and decide to think something differently.
So 2 things that I've done in the last few months. During Lent, I gave up complaining. And God's got such a sense of humor. He brings the pandemic upon us. And all I do is complain. Why did this happen and all? And really, it's that negative mindset, that fixed mindset. And I had to continue to pull myself back. And then I was always telling my kids jokingly, if I was complaining, I would say this. So that's what I was using for a while.
That was such a cop-out. I'm sorry.
But Julie's talking about it. It's really true. Where do you go with your mind? Where's the first place that you go with your mind? That's really, really important. As far as that, it's everything. Where are you going? Your levels of energy. That's really important. And the second thing that I've done in the last 2 weeks, really been brought it back into focus, is have a gratitude journal. When I wake up in the morning, I have a routine now, so I don't forget. After I brush my teeth, before I turn the shower on, I pull out my gratitude journal and I write 3 or 4 lines of what I'm grateful for. Living in Florida, living in the ocean, warm weather, not really being affected by COVID here where we live, being able to walk on the beach, being able to spend the day with my kids, being healthy. If you start out the day from a place of gratefulness, you'll need to judge less because you'll be in a much better positive frame of mind. You'll be more grateful. Start your day out with being grateful. I guarantee you it will change the way you look at things.
You know, you just mentioned judging again, and I just want to go back there for a second, because we do judge the closest people in our lives a lot, you know, maybe a little too much. And why do we do that? What is it about
you
that?
were just judging me before 30 seconds ago, saying we're a little different on mine. So you judging me already in the podcast.
I wasn't judging, I'm just pointing out the truth.
Oh, pointing out the truth and judging. You see what I'm saying?
It's different. But sometimes when we judge another person, especially someone close to us, especially even a family member, sometimes we see a bigger picture than they do. You know, when you're stuck in a situation and you only see one view, we'll see a different view. But if we're judging them, that's different. Reach out to them instead of judging them. Say, you know what, I'm here. I actually, you know, you want to talk about it. You want to make me understand a little bit. Reach out to them instead of that judging. Sometimes we also see their full potential. And we tend to do this in, you know, maybe our children or our siblings, where we know there is so much there. They are so gifted and they're not living up to their full potential. And so we judge them because it's easy. It's easier than helping them. So we judge them, and it's like, why don't they get that job? Why don't they do better in this subject or whatever? We know their full potential, and it's frustrating for us. So we just judge them. And sometimes we see ourselves in them. And that is, you know, very true in our children. When our children act up or when they do something, we actually see ourselves in them, and we get really angry because we don't like it. So we just judge them instead of helping them through it. We'll just, you know, you're just like your father. You know what I mean? Like, we've heard that from a lot of people where we see somebody else in them when we get mad at them. And that's something to think about.
So for me, I had the fixed mindset a lot when I was younger. I'll give you two examples of not having that mindset of being fixed and really flourishing in my life that really changed my life. The first one, remember, we got married and my wife is pregnant and she's like, I want to have a home birth. And I'm like, what? She's like, I want to have a baby at home. And the fixed mindset was creeping up. And I'm like, I don't think so. But my wife alluded 30 seconds ago, a minute ago, maybe you should really fall back on the person that is asking it and trust them. And I trust my wife because she was healthy. She wanted to do this. She had her mom who was involved in it. She researched the whole thing and she took total control of it. So thankfully I had the growth mindset and I was able to commit, figure it out. And then she did the rest. But if I had the fixed mindset, we would have had a really big divide in our relationship and I would have forced her to do something that she didn't want to do. So allowing that was really a positive experience. And 4 of our 6 kids were born at home. And the second was homeschooling. You know, coming from a judgmental family that I have, you know, when you're out down the fairway, down the cones, as we like to say, something's a little bit different. Everything is pressure. There's no boundaries. So when she said she wanted to homeschool, I was like, homeschool? No, they have to go to school. And I let my growth mindset take over and we thought about it logically, really sell the motion, close with logic. I tried to take my emotions out of it and say, how is this going to be better for us? Well, there's a lot of pros to homeschooling. Even back then, it wasn't really as popular as it is now. Now, ironically, everyone's back to homeschooling. Everyone's doing what we're doing, home births, homeschooling, but having that growth mindset and letting your partner and giving them the confidence and trusting them. 2 of the best experiences that we had in our relationship and our marriage is being able to have the kids at home and being able to homeschool the kids has been amazing for us. So I'm out there challenging everybody. If you have that fixed mindset, just acknowledge it. Are you the one out there judging people? Are you the one out there blaming everyone else for your circumstance? You have a fixed mindset. You have the opportunity, you have the choice to change that, to stop being judgmental and to stop having the fixed mindset and to adopt that growth mindset.
You know, also to understand, because, you know, back in, you know, the earlier days, our communication wasn't so great. And you know, when you mentioned that home birth, you know, maybe a question that you could have asked or something that I could have said was, that was our second child, by the way, the home birth. You know,
the first one was
there was a lot of situations that went on with regular hospital. We didn't have it at the hospital, but doctor's office. There was a lot of emotion that happened during that first birth that led me to the home birth. And that's important, because what's the story behind what you want to do? And that's something that communication right there is very important for your spouse or whoever you're dealing with to understand that part of it, because there's always more to, why do you want to do that? Tell me about it. You know, did you have a bad experience that you want to, you know, even with school, maybe you didn't like the school that you went to when you were younger and you wanted a different path for your children. There's always reasons why we want things, and sometimes they're not clear, and sometimes we need someone to talk to and to bring them out.
I like that. I just have a saying that I always say, and I'm going to bother my wife that I always say it, but really, this is really important. I think if you live by this and you think about this often, it'll really change the way you think about stuff. And what I say is, I learned this in life coaching school. What people say is about them. What you hear is about you. And that can relate to everything in life. Like right now, I can say, hey, Julia, why'd you wear that shirt? And there could be a couple of reasons, a couple of responses from her. I could just be asking her, oh, I like the shirt. Why'd you wear that one today? And the way that, and I'm saying it from my place, way she interprets it, if she's at a low level of energy right now, or she's mad or she's upset, she could take that as an insult. But if she's doing great, she's feeling great, and she's like, I got the best husband, he's a great podcaster, he's really rocking the show. She's like, whoa, he likes my shirt. So just think about that. What people say is about them. What you hear is about you. The next time you drive by somebody driving a Ferrari or a Lamborghini and you get mad, you get a little tight, what does that say about you? That person's not saying anything to you. You're looking at his car. Are you jealous? Are you envious? Are you being judgmental about that person? Really important to assess yourself, because I got caught up at it early on when I was getting married and I started having kids. I was a little jealous about those other people driving those beautiful cars and judging them and all these rich people, when in reality, that was all of them. They want the car for whatever reason, that's fine. But why am I judging them? Why do I know why they got the car? Maybe that makes them feel better. Maybe they grew up poor and they wanted to show that they were successful. Maybe they just liked the car. Maybe it was a passion of theirs. Why am I judging that person? I should be championing that person. And ultimately, if I want to be that successful, and I have become that successful, I should not shun that, or I should not be jealous about that person, or I should not be judging that person unless, and I will not get that if I do that.
It's interesting, like you said, if you go find a car and you get tense, like you just said, it's interesting when we get into that situation, pay attention to it and find out what the emotion is behind it. Because there's always something in our past that there's a reason why we do it. There's a reason why we make our decisions. So what are the reasons? If it's a good decision, find out what they're good decision. What are the reasons why what led us to make that good decision, or what led us to make that poor decision, or that poor emotion that most of the time we work off our emotions, and the action that we take, like I said, could be good, could be a good action. We could get, do progress, some kind of education or something, or it could be a really negative one. And when it's a negative one, what is the reason? And to kind of backtrack and go throughout your life and find out what that reason is really helpful.
Let's take a quick time out to hear from our sponsors.
Gino, I know a lot of our listeners are wanting to take their multifamily investing business to the next level. I know that you've been hard at work helping Jake and Gino students do just that using our framework. Can you explain to the listeners how they can get our help?
Guys, we've been hard at work growing our community of like-minded investors, and the results of our members has been nothing short of incredible. We're looking to grow this amazing group. What we're looking for is those who want to follow our proprietary framework that we've created: buy right, manage right, and finance right. Leverage our connections, education, and mentorship as ways to take your business to the next level.
So if you're interested in finding out more about how you can become a part of our amazing community, apply to work with us at jakeandgino.com/apply.
And we're back. While we were at break, my wife was judging me. She was, looking at me, and she was having a fixed mindset.
I was making fun of his shirt, actually.
Ironically, have the same color shirt on. That's the weird thing, right?
Well, let's go back there for 1 second. So it's important to if I say to you, Gino, why'd you wear that shirt in a nasty way? Of course, there's got to be something behind it on my end. I could be in a bad mood and all that, but I could also just say it nicely.
But
important to
it's
remember.
Also from me where I am at that certain point in time.
Absolutely.
We need to be conscious of our thoughts. Because if I just landed a deal and I just did a refi and roll for $200,000 and I'm having an awesome day, and you say that to me, not going to really affect me. Right. But if I just lost a deal, I just had a foreclosure, I'm having a crappy day, that I will interpret that in a different way. Mm-hmm. So for me, it really comes back to your levels of energy. If you're really negative, if you're really a victim, or you're angry, you have to take a step back, because, those thoughts will hamper you from actually being creative and finding a solution.
Yeah. It goes back to two is, the lies that we actually believe, the lies in our life that we believe, I can't be happy in everything unless everything goes my way. Is that a lot of people out there believe that if everything's not going well, I cannot be happy. And that's something to think about, because we have these things, even like, everything, we either magnify everything or minimize all the important things in our life. We make a big deal out about them, or we make no big deal at all about them. And that's something too.
One thing that's really crucial here, I want everyone to think about this. I've been doing research. 95% of our actions throughout the day are coming from our subconscious mind. Means we're doing them subconsciously. We're not even thinking about them. 5%, only 5% throughout the day comes from our conscious mind. Our conscious mind is the creative mind, right? It's what's going on throughout the day, the brainstorming, the thinking about it. And that's only 5%. We have to work really hard to go to the creative and work through the conscious mind. Subconscious is built in. It's those patterns that we've learned, those limiting beliefs. When we were young, that's why raising our children, being careful about what we say to them, being careful how we treat them, how we act them, from an early age, if we're not a great role model to them and they don't see us as being happily married, they may think relationships are tough. If I constantly keep telling my kids I can't afford that, or you know what, we have to save money, we can't spend money, that's going to be imprinted in their subconscious, and that's their map as they get older. So it's really important. The placebo effect is real. Your mind is so powerful. They're saying about a third of all medical benefit is the placebo effect, a pill, a sugar pill. If you think that you can heal yourself, the power of thought is so powerful. So the way you tap your conscious mind is really thinking about throughout the day what you want, planning your day, being held accountable, having a coach, having a mentor, having a partner that's going to push your conscious mind. After this call, I'm getting on a huddle with my team. We're going to talk about our day, how great we did, what our wins were, what our struggles were, and actually, enabling our conscious mind to work together, to brainstorm together. That's really powerful. And that's how we create success in our lives, is by working through our conscious mind, not just thinking and not letting our habits kick in throughout the day and sleepwalking throughout the day, but actually enabling our conscious mind to work.
You mentioned the kids, and I want to get back to that judging, because we judge our kids, and we assume what they're going through. And their little minds, sometimes we have no idea. And this is a really good story that I want to tell you, because my daughter she was so young. She was not even 3 years old. And I was big and pregnant, 9 months pregnant. She would not go into the car seat. And when I tell you that, I'm not kidding. I would force, I would push. There was no way of getting her in this car seat. And I just want to tell you that for 5 weeks, we did not go out. 5 full weeks, I could not get her into that car seat. And I tried and I tried. It was to the point where the neighbor actually came over, thought there was something wrong because there was so much screaming going on in the garage. So embarrassing. But I tried with all my, it was interesting how much she fought me to get into that car seat. And I could not physically push her in to get her in. And it was one night. Okay, so this is me trying pretty much probably every 2 or 3 days, trying again, let's try it again. And finally, one night I said, when she was in a giggly mood, we were joking around, we were playing, she was in a really, really fun mood. Okay. I said, Veronica, I said, tell me, do you want to go for a ride tomorrow? And her face changed, everything changed. And I said, tell me what's going on. Here is this little girl who can hardly speak full sentences. And she told me, she's like, it's just scary. The car seat is scary. And I thought, oh my gosh, for 5 weeks, I tried to fight it. And I didn't even think to ask her in a different way when she was in a good mood. And so finally I said, do you want to go tomorrow? We can all go, the whole family, we can go to the store, the toy store, and buy a new car seat. And her face lit up and she said, yes. So there we were the next day. This is terrible, but I held her in the back seat. I buckled, I held her. We went to the store. The mom and me were like, this is the car seat you need. This is what you want. And I just held back and I said, you choose it. She chose the car seat and it was never an issue again. And we just brought it up the other day and she does remember it. And it's so interesting because we talked about it. It was just scary to her. And I had to wait for her to be in a good mood to talk about it with her. And I just encourage everyone, when we're getting frustrated with somebody, wait until they're out of that frustration to talk about it. Because that's when we can think clearly, we could see clearly, and we can explain it.
So that's powerful. That's the negative thinking. They call it the nocebo effect, and it's just as powerful as the placebo effect. If you have constantly negative thinking, if you're constantly gloom and doom, if you're constantly judging people, if you're constantly blaming others, if you're constantly not taking responsibility, that drains your body. That's what I call catabolic energy. That energy is draining. It's going to make you sick. Eventually, the stress is going to kill you. So you have to realize that you're living at that conscious level. Positive thoughts, positive ideas will reinforce it. We go throughout the day, over 75% of our thoughts can be negative. We have to be careful with how we speak to ourselves. It's really important. That's why constantly listening to powerful, messages, constantly listening to the podcasts, constantly having great relationships with your spouse, with your kids, with your partners. It's really all so important for your mental health and being positive throughout the day.
And you said listening to it, which is so important, as you just said, but also speaking those words, letting other people know, because being that positive voice is just as powerful, because people need that. And so, if we're all listening, who's talking? So be that positive voice to those people around you, the people that who needs it. Maybe you haven't talked to them in a while, you've been thinking about them, call them, give them some encouragement, give them some positive words of encouragement, because we all need that. Even the people that you see on the computer, on TV, they need those positive reinforcements too.
So we started out this podcast talking about being judgmental. Then we went into the fixed mindset and the growth mindset. I challenge everyone out there. I keep telling all my students, I've gotten the book recommendation. Read the book Mindset by Carol Dweck. It'll change your perception and your thought of, wow, am I being that fixed mindset person? Am I being that harsh person? Or am I that person that is continuing to grow and wants to work hard and wants to learn? And from there, getting out of your comfort zone and growing and contributing, hitting those last two parts of a person's life, those understanding those human values and those human relationships where you really want to grow. That contribution and that growth is really important to a person's happiness. So from the fixed and growth mindset, really assess what's going on in your life. Assess your conscious level, where you're acting consciously throughout the day and where you're working hard to become a better person.
And when you're talking about this, it reminds me of, when we think back to, our memories of even our wedding, our first childbirth, our first meeting, our first date, anything like that. What is your first thought? Because a lot of us have, the wedding was great, but my hair wasn't right. We have these negative first thoughts. And when we get down to it, why do we do that? We those are our first thoughts of the most beautiful day ever. Let's get past that and have good memories. Let's rewire our brains so that the memories we have are positive first. We can still have those, I wish my hair was better, but what are the most beautiful times first? You know what I mean? The positive times first about a lot of things. And our relationships kind of change when we do that. Maybe our parents are, they were there and they're no longer here. Stuff like that. It's so important to remember the positive first.
So to Leo out there, next time I see you, I'm going to assess your business and I want you to do the same to me. Otherwise, wouldn't expect anything less. Julia, any final words?
No, I just encourage everyone to, see the full picture. When things are going on, say, I want to understand, help me understand, let me help you. I don't want to be that judge. I'm not a judge. I want to help another person.
Wow. And so go back to the couple of podcasts before this one about empowering questions. Learn how to do two skills that I learned in coaching school: empowering questions and listening. And then you won't have to judge, because then you'll be in that person's shoes. You can be empathetic to that person.
There's always so much more going on.
That's right. Yeah. So let's embrace that growth mindset. I want to thank everyone for being on the podcast and listening to us and just being part of the Jake and Gino family and spending part of the day with us. We really appreciate you guys.
Yeah. Thanks, everyone.